In the year of 2023, I spent roughly $3.75 million to generate back over $15 million in revenue with Google Ads, and in the process, I made a lot of mistakes, some extremely costly. The number one mistake I made with Google Ads these past few years, which frankly speaking seems a bit amateurish, is having no ad account structure. If you are right now with Google Ads just launching a bunch of random campaigns, or maybe there's no kind of strategy in place, you're launching one strategy after the other, this is really not ideal, because what starts to happen is the algorithm starts to optimize for these things. Meaning, if you're running a wrong strategy, or if your conversion tracking's messed up, or if there's just a bunch of warm traffic coming in, later on, even if you were to change the entire approach and make it correct, it's going to be extremely difficult to get it on the right path. And it kind of made us go back 2 steps instead of making us go forward 2 steps. So you want to avoid this at any given time. You want to look at your account again and really check to see if you have any type of account structure in place, if the campaigns running currently are running with a given strategy in mind, or they were just launched randomly, because this is going to lead you to mistake number 2, which I was making for the longest time ever, which was making sure that Google gets everything that it is asking for or that it wants. What I mean by this is, let's say for example, we were launching a Performance Max campaign. For the longest time, especially when Performance Max was just recently launched, what we would do is we would try to fill in as many of the images as possible so that we could reach up the limit of what Google gave us. In kind of a magical world, this would be the right approach. However, with Google Ads, the more you provide to Google, the more you listen to Google, the worse your campaigns perform, surprisingly. Same thing with doing things such as letting the budget run as Google wants, or increasing the budgets and bids when Google asks for it, or maybe even applying any of the recommendations. You need to apply your own strategies, your own skills. You need to look at the data to understand if something should be done, such as increasing budgets, bids, etc. But this brings us right to mistake number 3, which was pretty devastating to begin with, but it was basically making unnecessary changes when not needed. What I mean by this is, we would often go into the campaigns of new clients that we just began handling, and we would start by making these changes which we thought during that time were ideal. And by the way, a lot of the clients already came to us with these problems where they would have done certain changes when it was not necessary, and as a result, their campaigns would completely mess up. If something is working, you do not want to come in and switch or change it just for the sake of making changes or just for the sake of improving things, because oftentimes what will happen is that thing will actually become worse and it will start performing in a much worse manner. This even applies to the small changes, like the small feed changes or the small conversion tracking changes. If something's working, you do not want to touch it at all, even if you see some problems in that issue, because this was single-handedly one of the worst ways we lost money when it came to Google Ads. But this brings me to the 4th mistake which I made, which was completely disregarding the underperforming products. Now, too many brands, what they do is they test the product, and if they think that they have tested that product properly, maybe in a Performance Max campaign or a standard shopping campaign, and even then this test has led to futile results, meaning the product has not performed, is underperforming, they completely get rid of that product. They exclude it and forget about it. This is the worst way to completely give up on potential 7- and 8-figure winning products. Instead, what you want to do is you want to essentially have a strategy in place to give these kinds of underperforming products a second chance or a third chance, because there's a lot of different things which make this product not a best-selling product or not a good selling product in a given period of time. Things such as the seasonality of that product, things such as the current search volume or search demand of that product. With so many factors in play, you definitely want to be given each product 2 or maybe even 3 chances. That's what we started doing now, and we're running some of these underperforming products at a completely insane level of return on ad spend, 5x, even 10x numbers. This brings me to the final mistake on the list, which is one of the biggest ones as well, and this is not taking the product feed more seriously. I mean, I often say, even in my videos, that product feed is literally your key to massive scale. However, Sometimes when you're scaling an e-commerce brand, when it's doing $1,000 a day ad spend, $5,000, even $10,000 a day in ad spend, you kind of start to overlook these things, these foundational things, and you become a bit too excited. As a result, what would often happen is the product feed, it would be sort of discarded and just left in the background without any further optimizations done. When you're getting such valuable data, when you're getting so much ad spend on a consistent basis, you want to make good use of that spend. And the best way to do that is get that data coming in from your campaigns and go into your backend, the product feed, to make the necessary optimizations, because your product feed determines your level of scale. And if your ROAS is a 4x right now, you've done absolutely everything you could to increase that, but it's not increasing. Product feed is where that ROAS can naturally improve and go to the next level without you having to spend a single dime extra. This is one of the worst mistakes we did, which led to a lot of money just essentially getting left on the table. These are some of the 5 biggest mistakes I made, and now we're completely avoiding them for a lot of the e-commerce brands we're handling under my Google Ads agency, Your Marketing, and scaling them to multi-7 and multi-8 figures, which, by the way, if you're doing $40,000 or more per month in revenue, you need just a little bit of extra help scaling your brand to the next level. Go onto my website at yourmarketing.com and schedule a free call with me to see how we can potentially work together and make that happen. But I want you to like this video if you found any type of value here, and subscribe if this is one of the first videos you're watching on my channel, and check out this video next on my 5 best performance max campaign strategies which can help you take your brand to the next level.